ونصلي على رسوله الكريم ما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقه قولي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. باب الإخلاص وإحضار النية في جميع الأعمال والأقوال والأحوال البارزة والخفية. Now, we are starting the first book in Riyadh al-Salihin, and this is called Bab al-Ikhlas, the chapter of sincerity. Now the title continues on وَإِحْضَارِ النِّيَّةِ فِي جَمِيعِ الْأَعْمَالِ وَالْأَقْوَالِ وَالْأَحْوَالِ, and acknowledging an intention in everything we do, everything we say, under any circumstance, al-bariza wal-khafiyya, externally and internally. Now, Imam an-Nawawi rahimahullah, he, in this first book, he starts this book off with 3 verses and 12 ahadith. And knowing the intention of Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, intentionally he started off his book with this chapter to show the emphasis, importance, and magnitude that the role of sincerity and ikhlas has in every single deed that we do. Now, the word ikhlas, linguistically speaking, ikhlas comes from akhlasa yukhlisu ikhlas. And it has 2 meanings. One of the meanings is derived from khalasa, okay, which has the meaning of something being pure, khalis, right? We also use that in Urdu as well. Urdu khalis, something that is pure. And that word is very loosely thrown around, especially on honey, right? Pure honey. Everything's pure. It's really not. Okay, so akhlasa means to cleanse something. To cleanse something. Now that implies that there was some type of filth with it. That's why it needed to be cleansed. Another meaning of ikhlas means to choose and select. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the word ikhlas has been used in these 2 meanings in the Quran. Okay? For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about his chosen prophets, al-mukhlasin, illa ibadaka minhumul mukhlasin, the chosen ones. Okay? Wa akhlasnahum bi khalisatin dhikra. So it means something that has been purified away from filth, and also it means those who are chosen. Al-mukhlis, meaning those who purify. And in our case, in the case Islamically speaking, those who purify their deen. Al-mukhlas, those who are the chosen ones. Surah Ikhlas is called Ikhlas because it has one strong message, and that is the tawheed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and negates any and every concept, the characteristic of eternity or begetting, all of that. It negates all of that from anyone else. Everything else, no one else besides Allah is eternal. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the only one, and everything else besides Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is either begets or begotten except for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So there is a heavy message of purifying one's belief that is portrayed in Suratul Ikhlas. That's why it is called Suratul Ikhlas. Now, Islamically speaking, Al-Ikhlas, there are many definitions that are given by different scholars and muhaddithin, and one of those is تخليص القلب من كل شوب يكدر صفاءه, to cleanse your heart from anything that can taint or stain your heart from being purely for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Another one is ألا تطلب لعملك شاهدا غير الله تعالى, that you don't seek any other spectator for anything that you do except Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Anything that we do, doing it only for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is what ikhlas is. The 3 ayat that Imam an-Nawawi mentions under this chapter, وَمَا أُمِرُوا إِلَّا لِيَعْبُدُوا اللَّهَ مُخْلِصِينَ لَهُ الدِّينَ, and they were only commanded to purify and make their deen sincere for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The second ayah that Allah, and then continue on in the first one, وَيُقِيمُوا الصَّلَاةَ وَيُؤْتُوا الزَّكَاةَ, and to establish the prayers, to give zakah, وَذَلِكَ دِينُ الْقَيِّمَةِ, and this is the straight and established deen. So look at the chapter that he mentions, وَإِحْضَارِ النِّيَّةِ فِي الْأَقْوَالِ وَالْأَعْمَالِ وَالْأَحْوَالِ. So in this ayah, he covers the aspect of salah, he covers the aspect of zakah, and under mukhlisina lahuddin, all types of activities. The second ayah has to do with Hajj. لَن يَنَالَ اللَّهَ لُحُومُهَا وَلَا دِمَاؤُهَا وَلَكِنْ يَنَالُهُ التَّقْوَى مِنْكُمْ. The mushrikeen, they would take their sacrificial animals, their meat and their blood, and they would rub it across the walls of the Kaaba. So as a sign of his acceptance, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that no, what is accepted is the intention of the heart. So that covers the rituals of Hajj. And then قُلْ إِن تُخْفُوا مَا فِي صُدُورِكُمْ أَوْ تُبْدُوهُ يَعْلَمْهُ اللَّهُ. Tell them also, O Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, whatever they conceal and whatever they disclose in their chests, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, whatever they conceal in their chests and whatever they disclose, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. So ikhlas has to do not just with the external factor of our worship, but also the inner aspect of our worship. Hence, the first hadith that is being presented, which is narrated compliments of Umar ibn al-Khattab radiyallahu anhu, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. All deeds. Now before I get into the translation of this, إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ. إِنَّمَا is an emphasis. Indeed. Al-a'mal means all deeds. Al-a'mal, the alif lam in there is called lil-istighraq. In other words, it covers everything. So every single deed, bin niyat. Now, there are two ways of looking at the translation or defining this. One is bin niyat, is accompanied with the intention. And the other way of looking at it is bin niyat, because of its intention. Now before we break down the hadith in that, this hadith has four parts. إِنَّمَا الْأَعْمَالُ بِالنِّيَّاتِ وَإِنَّمَا لِكُلِّ إِمْرٍ مَا نَوَى. Second part, فَمَنْ كَانَتْ هِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ فَهِجْرَتُهُ إِلَى اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. The third part, until the end, the fourth part. Now Imam An-Nawawi rahimahullah starts off with this hadith to emphasize the importance of sincerity in intention. Qadi Iyad, a famous muhaddith, he says that this hadith is 1/3 of a person's deen. 1/3 of a person's deen is based upon a person's intention. And if you look at the word niyyah, niyyah comes from nawiya yanwi, nawa. What's the word for seed in Arabic? Nawa. Okay? So the niyyah is the seed. Whatever type of seed you put, that is the type of fruit you will get. If the niyyah is good, the fruit will be good. If the niyyah is for something else that isn't good, then the fruit that one will get will also be the same. And subhanAllah, I'm going to draw a parallel from how the niyyah and a seed works, because once you grow something good, you also have to maintain that. You also have to sustain that plant. Even after it gives fruit, you have to protect it. So we ask Allah, and I'm going to end it here, so we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to grant us the ability to make our intentions sincere. And whenever we read the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam or the Quran, we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to allow us to read in between the lines. Jazakumullah.